annual. I was saying 7th annual. It feels like it's been 7 years, right, Lester? I said 7th annual MBE Music Business Empowerment Conference, the virtual version. And one, I'm so glad to be here as your host for the record label music executive panel, because it's not just about record labels, it's about music executives. But I'm really excited to be here as your host, and we have an amazing panelists today. Just a plethora of experience from all walks of life, and people who have done it at every level and continue to do it at every level are going to be probably by my leaders of this game for a very long time. So I want to jump right into it, and we'll start off with the introductions. And as we discussed on our email, please keep your intro short, as we will have a lot of time to pontificate about your history and your legacy and what you guys bring to the table. So I'm going to start out with ladies first. My good friend and ex-co-worker, Ms. Deb Dorsey. Talk to us, Deb.
Thank you much. Thank you much. Hey, everybody. I'm Deb Dorsey. Started out actually as a college rep when I was at Howard University. Kind of hit the road running from that point, and just, got out here and networked and kept hustling So somebody finally gave me an opportunity and a shot and a job, and here we are today.
Next up, I want to go to a good friend of mine who I got the pleasure of meeting, and we talk about football a lot, as well as the differences of opinion on music and how it's promoted. My good friend from PM Promotions, Mr. Phil Monterrigis.
Thank you, Azim. I feel the same way about you too, my brother. I've been very blessed to been in this business now 33 years. I've had a chance to work for 12 labels, so I had that experience and understanding. When you're on the other side for PM Promotion the last 17 years approximately, to help set up music and get music played in all facets and all different formats. And, when you have an understanding of all corners of the square, you can really help people. You can really understand what everyone's going through. So I'm lucky enough to have worked for, whether it be working the Bone Thugs and Harmony from ground up, going all the way into, people telling me that Billie Eilish and other singles, whatever it might be, in whatever format can't happen. You just grind it out. So I'm really humbled and really excited to be on your panel today. So thank you.
Thanks for coming, Phil. Appreciate your time and look forward to your insights.
Thank you.
Next up, I want to bring in another one of my very good friends, and we are truly brothers from another mother, Lester Sir Pace.
That's the DJ. I dropped him a long time ago. Lester Pace. Lester Pace here. Just want to say is glad to be here. I've been a part of this for all the 7 years, and just to see this continue to grow has been a great experience. And being able to be here with all the people on the panel that I know very well and see everybody continue to grow and still be in the business, great to be here. I started off as a DJ, left from the DJ side and to Rap A Lot Records, Rap A Lot to Interscope and A&M, and now over at Roc Nation. So that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Appreciate it. Also, he's on the advisory board for the NBA. I don't know if you said that. Next up, a young man I'm very proud of. I'm proud to say I gave him his first opportunity on the label side of this business back at Atlantic Records with Special Ops, and he is yet to disappoint me on his ascension and just as a man in general. So Amir Boy from Interscope Records.
What's up, everybody? Man, I feel like I'm not even really worthy to be on this panel with all of these people that's I've looked up to and I have relationships with. My career started at Morgan State University, where I started throwing parties, and then from there I went to radio, and then from there I ended up radio in Atlanta, and then like Azim said, my first label gig was working with him at Special Ops over at Atlantic. And from there, I ended up at Interscope with my good friend and partners, Lester Pace and Keenan Johnson. from there, Epic and Grand Hustle. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of roles. I'm a lot of formers, but right now I'm currently the senior national at Interscope back over at the IGA team. So I'm just honored to be here.
Thanks, Amir. Appreciate your time, brother. And since you already name dropped him, I'll bring him into the fold. Another guy that I'm really glad to have a very long-standing relationship with. We started out, I think his second job actually was with me, but he was actually my first trainee when I was a national over at MCA Records, and he was coming over to us from Priority, Mr. Keenan Johnson.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Azim. Pleasure to be in this room, in this Zoom with everybody that I respect so much, all these people that I kind of like to what Amir said, I've looked up to through my entire matriculation in the business. And I've taken a lot from everybody on this Zoom right now, and I appreciate everything that you've given me along my journey. I started out on the street team when I was at Clark Atlanta University in the mid-'90s at Loud Records. I worked groups like Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, Big Pun, just to name a few. From there, when I graduated from Clark in '97, I started working at Priority Records, where we broke artists like Master P, Ice Cube. From there, went over to MCA with Azim. Then from MCA to Geffen to Interscope, and I'm currently serving as Senior Vice President of Urban Promotions at Interscope Records. So it's been a journey, 25 years in total since the street team to now, but it's been amazing. It's been amazing, and I'm so happy to be able to give back and impart anything that I can give to anybody that's looking to make their way in this business.
W. Keenan, thanks for having you. Next up, I want to say, and also congratulations on your promotion. It's pretty recent, but I want to give a special shout out to this next gentleman who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years now. Recently promoted the new Senior Vice President of Urban Promotion at Warner Records, Mr. Wilt Wallace.
Thank you, Azim. I appreciate it, man. As Keenan and others said, I'm humbled to be here and really happy to be a part of this panel. I got my start in the business when I was at Morehouse College in Atlanta. I interned for Lil Jon's BME Recordings and worked, Trillville, Scrappy, Crime Mob, doing street team stuff, putting up posters, handing out flyers, taking CD singles to DJs, stuff like that. And here we are 16, 17 years later, and Senior Vice President of Urban Promotion at Warner. Excited about this panel.
And last but not least, say the best for last is what I was always told. A guy that I got to work with back when I was in MCA. He's definitely the king. Sorry, guys. A little home maintenance going on back here, sorry. The OG legend from Chicago. He has a huge legacy, and I'm really interested and glad to have him here. Our own 2019 Living Legends Foundation Living Legend for the Music Executive of the Year, Mr. Maurice White.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly, Azim. And you know how I feel about everybody on this call. It's an honor to be here and be a part of this. I am the senior on this call. I'm 43 years in the music business, and don't let that number fool you. I'm still on the playing field and playing very aggressively.
Not that right.
I could name too many places that I've been, so I wouldn't want to bore you with that. But I've touched pretty much everybody in the last 43 years that's meant something in this music business, and a lot of people who didn't make it because they didn't take the advice. I would like to start this call by saying to all the listeners, do more listening than talking and you'll be okay. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I find in the new people coming to the game that they always want to tell you what they don't know. So just listen and you'll be surprised as to what you'll pick up. I'm looking forward to this panel.
Man, I had a pleasure of working with you. You being real modest, bro, but it's all good. We ain't gonna talk about the songs you wrote for Earth, Wind & Fire, but let's go ahead.
Man, a true living legend. You know what I'm saying? A true living legend.
Talk about it.
Before we go out, because I know we'll get long-winded because we are most people like to talk, but I want to give a special shout out to our big sister and our founder for the MBE, Ms. Arlinda Garrett. One, your vision is absolutely necessary, and just for the fortitude in COVID going forward and putting this out, and we hope that everybody who's participating in all the panels yesterday, today, and tomorrow get something out of it. So let's jump right into it, guys. And I'm going to give everybody a question, and then we'll have a chance to elaborate as we move forward. I'll start with Keenan. What has been your biggest obstacles on your climb as an executive?
Me, personally, just being honest, I've always been super duper humble and super duper reserved, I think, in my approach to a lot of things, and maybe a little bit too methodical in my approach at times. I think I could have been a little bit more aggressive at times in my career, but I still landed at the same destination nonetheless. But believing in myself sooner in regards to different things at different points in my career. You know what I mean?
To that point, you don't have to get personal. I think those of us who know, and those who don't know, they should research. But do you think that your family history in the business has helped you or hindered you? Or to your point about being methodical, have you taken steps you might not have taken had you not had the lineage that you have in this business?
I took those steps because of the lineage. I never wanted anyone to be able to say anyone did anything for me or put me in position to be where I am today. There's nothing wrong with, getting an entryway into the game, but at the end of the day, you still got to do the work. So once it came a point for me to do the work, I never wanted anybody to be able to look back and say, oh, he's SVP because of this, that, this. So I always felt like I had to take the longer route because, personally for years, a lot of people never even knew what the lineage was because I never touted it.
Right.
I got in them streets, I hustled, and I built my own brand, and I built my own name, and my own, the character was there. I just had to, put the numbers on the board myself. So, in that regard, I always wanted to take the longer way because I just always wanted to be my own man. But, to what I initially said, I think sooner in my career, I could have embraced being a little bit more just, you know what I mean? Go get it. But we're here now. So we made it to the first destination.
Well, listen, all things in time, and you're doing a great job. So keep it up, brother.
For sure. Thank you.
Philly Phil, what's happening, man?
Yeah,
so talk to us, man, about PM Promotions. You've done a lot. A lot of people don't know that Phil Materigas is one of our counterparts on the rhythm pop side of promotion, but he was a former label guy too. So talk to us, Phil, about the differences between A, working at a label, B, being your own man for the last 20 years or so, maybe longer, right? But also to straddling the line of working in the urban and the pop worlds together, because you're one of the few that actually do it.
Well, it's funny, I have to say everything in life, you have to have a foundation, right? And DJing, I mean, thank God Sandy didn't wipe them all away, but I still got like 25,000 12 inches stuffed in my garage from DJing. And, without that foundation in something, I don't care if you worked at as an intern or if you worked as at a record store or a DJ, if you got love for this music or you want to promote this, music, you got to have some type of foundation, in my opinion. There's a lot of people out there that are doing it as a job. Is it your job or is it your passion and your love? If you got passion and love for something, you can go through it like a freight train. And that's what I did because I have so much passion for the music. And also, working at the labels and working in all these formats really gives you an appreciation for people, the wants, the needs. But, in 1996, I was at Relativity for 5 years, and they asked me to go to EMI. But it was the first time that anybody in the business was going to sign a contract to report to pop and to urban, which at the time was David Rosas at EMI. And you know what? I mean, I don't understand what all the rhetoric is, but in 1996, I just went down the hall. We did our conference call. We went over the music, we went over the markets, and off we went. And we promoted and broke a lot of music. And I just think that's, you know, the most important thing is that you understand what your job is and that you focus on it and get your job done, period. Try not to let all the static get involved.
Absolutely. And for those of us who are listening, some people may peak. I understand how Phil thinks. We talk a lot. What he's basically talking about is maybe being a white guy in hip hop specifically, or appropriation, as a lot of people used to like to call it. But in his thing is, listen, you know, he gets the culture, he's in it every day, and he's doing his job. And I think that's a conversation that a lot of us have, especially at these major labels, which leads me to my next question for our OG, Mr. Maurice White. Over the last few months, obviously since Blackout 2.
Real quick, as we're waiting for Azim, Lester, you said you're on the road talking to programmers. Can you expand on that? What it means to be on the road? What it means in these roles that you all are in? That you have to go out and you have to talk to programmers and talk to people. Who is that?
I asked the question. I don't know who it is, but what you have to. One thing that I learned, and when I first started this business, I had to decide, because I grew up playing sports, I had to decide what makes me different from everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, I'm still one of my guys on here, a story he told me I'd never forget. I knew Amir had a programmer that would not talk to him. Amir used to go try to talk to her, she wouldn't pick up the phone. So Amir told me this story. He went to the hardware store and bought a door knocker and sent it to her in the mail and said, "Let me in." You know what I'm saying? So that was very creative. So we have to do things and become creative when we come to this marketing and promotion. If you're a record person and all you do is sit there and call the program and talk about your music and don't go see them to see what needs they have, it's just like being in any field where you're a promotional rep. You have to go and see and work out different type of things to see what that station needs. Not just what I need about getting my music played on your radio station, but what can I do for you? So I always had that intact, no matter what position I'm in. I'm still going to travel. I'm still going to go see the programmers and get to see them, because that one-on-one talking to a programmer is 10 times more than just sitting on the phone and having a conversation.
Thank you, Lester. And thank you, Amir, for jumping in, bro. I don't know what happened. I just went black all the way out.
It's all good.
Did I know we left off with Phil? Did Maurice get a chance to speak?
I never heard your question.
I'm sorry. So I was talking about Blackout Tuesday, and again, I apologize to our audience. Never scheduled the cable guy to come on the day that you had to host in the conference. But post Blackout Tuesday, Mo, you know, Blackout Tuesday was supposed to, you know, in the music business was actually one of the leading industries that stood up and said, listen, you know, enough is enough. We need to address the lack of Black leadership, minority leadership, women leadership in senior roles in the C-suites, the lack of control over budgets, the lack of control of our own destiny. And my question is, you know, to you, over the last 4 months, have you seen a significant change? Do you think it's the same? Or are we going down the right path?
Good and bad. I see some movement, but the journey doesn't go to the swift. It's for the long term. And we have to make this a marathon. So we have to continue to raise these questions and put it in the industry's face that we're viable and that we should be considered at all times. I've been fortunate. I'm at E1 and I'm vice president here. I've been here 20 years. In a few months, it'll be 21 years. Very few people last that long at a particular label, but that's God's grace allowing me to do that. But also, we have got to, don't forget what the past 4 months has taught us, and let's take it forward. Continue to bring it up, continue to talk about it, because it can get swept up under the carpet, and we don't want that to happen.
So your opinion is we're a work in progress and we got a lot more work to do.
Yes, sir.
Keenan and Wilt specifically, because you guys are inside of two of the big three organizations along with myself. What's it been like for you over the last 4 months, and what do you see changing or areas of opportunity?
Well, I see a lot more dialogue going on, a lot more conversations and things of that nature. But that's not enough. Action needs to follow the dialogue. And I've seen a lot of changes in my company specifically, but a lot of that stuff was in motion before everything that happened 4 months ago. A lot of it was announced after, so it kind of looks like a direct result of 1 to 2, one as a cause and reaction, but it's really not. There's a lot of progress that has been happening in my company over the last 2-3 years, but there's still room to grow, as Marie said, and it's about the marathon. It's about the long haul. So, I mean, definitely there's a heightened awareness. We have a town hall coming up on Monday to where we can discuss these things on a global level, not just a domestic level. So we're digging in deeper, but I just think that it needs to continue to happen every day. And it's not just at a company-wide level, but just even one-on-one, me talking to my pop counterparts and me talking to different people in other areas of the company outside of promotion and things that we can fix and change, and how, I feel like me and my team need to affect the direction of us moving forward.
Yeah, similarly, Azim, I agree with Maurice. Like, this whole change it's a marathon. Like, a lot of people I see get frustrated with the incremental changes that they see happening within a short window of time. But anybody who knows change doesn't come easy, and change only comes through demand and continued demand. So yes, we've seen some good promotions happen over here, and the dialogue has been steady. I will say that at Interscope, and we've actually been implementing a lot of things that we have been talking about previously is actually being implemented now, which is positive as well. But to Maurice's point, we got to keep the pressure on. We got to keep the foot upon the neck. And the good thing about what I'm at least seeing is the people within our organization is receptive to it. So, anybody that knows me knows where I stand on these kind of issues anyway. Like, I'm pretty open with how I feel about our people, our opportunities, what it means to not have resources, and what we deserve and what we need in order for our community to come up. Like, it's not enough for me to do well. And I've always felt like that. Like, I want to bring the community along. So, just me being put in this seat in this company, them knowing how I am, said a lot, because I'm nobody's just rollover guy. So that just said a lot to me anyway. So we just got to keep our foot on the neck and call shit out when you see it. Pardon my language, but like, we calling it out now, we have to steadily call it out. Don't get comfortable in thinking that things will change because you see a couple of promotions. That's never enough.
Right. No, that's a great point. And we have to, as I continue to say, we need to be disciplined. We need to be focused, and to change something that's systemic, we need to put our own systems in place to make sure that we can see this change be continual, not just, right now in the moment. Ms. Dorsey.
Yes, sir.
The woman's question. As a woman in the post-Me Too movement, have you, or in your discussions with your female peers and counterparts, seen a change in the behavior of men and women? Because, it's not just a men thing. I know it's probably heavily pervasive with men, but it's a woman thing too in our business.
I've seen some. We still have a long way to go. I can honestly say, in a lot of my experiences, I think that probably because of how I present myself, I've been blessed that I haven't had to deal with a lot of kind of in-your-face differences. But obviously, I see those differences, even in my getting my first opportunity. There was someone that I think I had pursued them for over 2 years, and the opportunity came available for a regional position. And the actual job went to someone else that did not have more experience than I did. But I really felt like it was because, I was the female and they were the male. But I think the mentality was, though, I don't know if she's going to be able to go out and do what we need to be done in the streets. And, as people have seen my work ethic, I get out and grind and do what I need to do without having to compromise myself. So right. as I talk to some of my other female counterparts, we all have very similar stories to some extent, or have had some of those encounters. But when it's all said and done, I really feel like you know, how we present ourselves, and we know, you know, we come in and say, hey, we're here about the business and let's handle the business. And, you know, I think we have better reception and better respect.
Thank you, Deb. I want to stay with you on this because, again, you worked at Atlantic for a long time, and also currently, you know, you do a lot of work with Empire, which is an independent. What are some specific recommendations you can give an artist seeking a deal at a major or an independent label?
Well, actually, for both of them, I honestly, to me, the first thing is to come ready to do the work. Obviously, you have to have a good product, but you have to have that work ethic to get out here and say, hey, I've got a possible team that's going to be behind me, but I also have to put in the work to complement what they're going to be doing. And, you know, from the independent side of it, you know, Empire is a digital based company. So that is, you know, their primary source of income. So, you know, if you don't have the stream, or you haven't done the work to get out there and get your streams up and to create some kind of visibility for yourself, then you still got a long ways to go. Because as all of you all know, the days of grooming artists, the whole A&R and the development part of it, you know, that's kind of been taken out of the equation, you know, for multiple reasons, and budgets is one of the biggest ones. So, you know, you got to have something to make the labels, I would say, the independents as well as the majors, you know, want to get behind you. You got to have a demand there. You have to have something.
Azim, you mind if I ask a quick question? Just a quick question. Deb, when you said that Empire is mainly a digital company, what would be the difference of Empire when you say digital company compared to another independent? I'm really curious about that.
Well, they do digital distribution, although, that's how the company initially formed. And, you know, at this point, though, they're expanding to become also its own entire entity in itself as far as a record label, because they are signing artists directly.
Okay.
And they're also, you know, they're doing partnerships with a lot of the majors as well, as far as some of the digital placements and the distributions, and dealing with those other streaming outlets.
Yeah, shout out to Ghazi. We love Ghazi and what he does for the business and the community. He's definitely, I think he's cut from the same cloth of a Russell Simmons, an Andre Harrell, but where he is in this business, and we just thank him for being a good partner across the board.
Absolutely.
Amir, I'm sorry,
Ghazi
Lester.
Ghazi has a lot of vision. And at one point, I honestly feel like he was probably just a little bit ahead of his time. And now, you know, the industry is actually kind of catching up a little bit.
That's what you
let
know,
me,
like we
and
do.
let me,
He's
let me,
got
let
something
me,
going on.
and it
Lester, I was gonna come to you next.
Speaking of, okay, let me just talk about what she just said. If we talking about the progress of seeing blacks in this business, to me, if Ghazi would have never stepped out there, the percentages that the artists get and cut those type of deals right now independently wouldn't be able out there. You know what I'm saying? When artists weren't able to go get 80% on their deals independently now, when they were just getting the 13 or 14 or 15%. So that changed the game all over. So what artists now can decide whether they want to be independent or go to a major.
Absolutely. And to add to that, Lester, though, if I'm not mistaken, if it hasn't changed, the from the label side of it, the worst case scenario would be a 50-50 split.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
A partner with a label instead of
absolutely
just an artist.
Exactly.
Right.
And Lester, while you're speaking, I was actually coming to you next on that same topic, as the head of promotion at Rock Nation, but also too as the patriarch of setting the pace. Talk to us about the journeys that you've had, both as an independent operator and working inside these systems.
I think sometimes the system, I think a lot of times at the major label level, I've always been a soldier on the street, just kind of, you know, for as being independent from my days of the Rap A Lot, and now even being at Rock Nation, it still feels somewhat as an independent label because we still have to do a lot of the things that the majors have more access to for us breaking our artists. So we still have to be kind of creative in the things that we do because, you know, because we don't have everything around the world that some people have access to get to from the major label department. So I think seeing from the independent side now, I think I try to tell artists they have it a little bit better than what we did with coming up, because if you think about it right now, if this pandemic would have hit in 2008, this whole industry would have been shut down because we were pushing CDs back then. Okay, so we wouldn't even have a reckoning. So I don't think none of us would have been on this call right now, you know. So now the artists have the chance now to develop and be creative. But I think a lot of artists have gotten lazy, you know, because this side of the business, just being able to post something on Instagram or the digital site, they think that's all it is, and wonder how they make it. So how to make it in this business now. It's funny. I was let's stay on the indie side before I get to the major of what we do. I was speaking to an artist, independent artist the other day, and he was pushing his music out. And I told him, you have to look at this business now as a worldwide business and quit looking as it just about the United States. I want to be big in this city. So he had a project that he put out in radio. He put it out in radio and didn't get anything back in return. So when he came back, in return, I mean his streams or he didn't see none of his analytics going from his social media or so. So in turn, what I told him to do, he started buying advertisement and marketing himself in South Africa. He marketed himself in other markets. I told him to go to Chartmetric and pick an artist that's similar to him and kind of follow their strategy where they were big at. And he's seen his numbers go from 17,000 on his IG page, and now today he's sitting at 50,000 within the 3 or 4 months. He found a fan base in other markets. Those are things that we could not do back in the day because we only could get our records. I only had enough money to press up say 2,000 or 3,000 CDs and get them in this store. Now you could, your streams are millions now. So we just got to change our mindset and think of this as a worldwide business on both sides. From the majors are already doing it, but I think from the indies that we have to do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lester. Brother Amir, always a visionary and have a very unique track to where you are today. Talk to me about what you think the future trends of our business are, because you've always been kind of a savant and a little bit to the left of center in your approach.
I feel like the business is going to go to, I mean, it's already there. Like we're talking about digital marketing, and we're talking about, content, and we're talking about making sure that you reaching your target audience through engagement. We all do this radio stuff, but I've had meetings at YouTube, I've had meetings at Twitter and Instagram, and the word they keep using is engagement. When you got a new artist and they're not engaging with their fans, I mean, sometimes they could just have a really dope record and it's just sitting out there because they not doing the other things. And like LP said, like a lot of times artists seem to forget that you still got to figure out ways to reach your audience. And it can't just be, I'm sending the record to the radio station, or I'm sending the record to the DJs. Like, you literally got to be out here producing content and engaging. And I think that's something that, you got to make sure that you're doing all the time. The conversations I have with the people at YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, it varies from what they say an artist should be posting or how engaged they should be. But most of them say at least 3 or 4 times a week. And you get a lot of artists who just don't get that, right? They don't understand that this is a part of the streets now. The internet is a part of the streets. These social media platforms are a part of the street. So if you just out here just putting up music on DSPs, it's almost like a tree falling in the woods and no one is there to hear it. Like, does it make a sound? You know what I'm saying? And you don't know because you're not there. So I've always tried to make sure that, we got this radio stuff down pat. We know this because we've been doing this for all our, for 20 plus years, some of them more. However, there's still an element of, you still got to touch the people. And right now, the internet has become a part of the streets. Like Lester say, back in the day, we literally was carrying records around trying to get records played. Then it went to CDs. And now we at MP3s, and it's actually made some artists lazy. So I feel like, you know, if you're not engaging and you're not, you know, making sure your content is current, and, you know, because that's the things that all these majors are looking at. You know what I'm saying? You know, you in these meetings and you hear what they talking about. They talking about YouTube. They talking about Instagram. They talking about Twitter. They talking about, you know, TikTok. So those are platforms that artists need to make sure that they're engaging in.
I think a thread for all of us as we continue to talk, and we have plenty of time, so nobody get nervous. One thing I always say that, you know, promotion people are the face of the business. You know, you'll probably run into a promotion person more than you run into anybody else, unless you're at a concert. You might run into an A&R person. But for a record label, promotion person is going to be that. And I think our level of expertise and what we bring, whether it be from other fields that we've engaged in, other opportunities that we've had while on our journey in this business, sometimes get overlooked. And this is for anybody to discuss. Do you think that there is a need for more executive training inside of the buildings about promotion specifically, because people just think radio? Or do you think that we should keep that to ourselves and use it as our secret weapon?
There's a let me make a comment there first, and then I'll turn it over. There are people in the building who can't train you because they ain't been trained.
Oh, talk that talk, Mo.
They fell into a position because of their boy got a promotion. He was working at UPS and he brought him over to become whatever title they gave him. So you got the blind leading the blind. It's a very dangerous time right now because they give you a title doesn't mean that you really understand what that represents and the past, where it came from and how you were entitled to get there. We do need training, Azim, but in our circle, we gotta always teach each other. It's very important. Do not feel that you own this knowledge. You gotta pass it on because somebody gave it to you. So that's very important. And I just want to make that comment.
I feel like
anybody else
to that point, Azim and Maurice, you hit it on the head. I feel like promotions is like our own like little internal organization within the business. Like it's like our own like little club and
secret society.
Our secrets are our secrets, and that's what it is. Like, and I like that about it. I feel like we're all family, even though we may be all at different labels or, you know, doing different things at different times. We all speak the same language without speaking it. And I appreciate that. Like,
yes, sir.
I really do, because there's something to be said about a real promo person. Like, we're not here for 20 plus years for no reason. It's because we speak the language and we follow the rules. You get me? So,
yep.
You know, as much as we should always expand our knowledge outside of our own purview and know what it means, what the streaming means and the digital assets mean and how this affects this, because it's all related in 2020. Be clear, like it all plays a part in the ultimate success of a single or an album. But our thing, this thing of ours, I like it like it is.
You can't be selfish.
There you go. Well, I mean, listen, I think that all of us, we all have strong lineage, and whether it just be the people on this call or the people listening, you know, we all have been touched by someone else. I think that I don't see that level of kinsmanship amongst other departments. You know, with us, you know, we eat together, and we work together. And I think part of it is just the way, again, who brought you in? You know, who brought you? You know, it's a lot of, you know, we've seen some people fall off that necessarily didn't abide by the rules or didn't necessarily play the game the right way. But I think, generally speaking, at least in my tenure, that the people who've lasted, to your point, Keenan, they play the game the right way. And I think it's a fraternity and a sorority, Deb, that we want to make sure that we keep as intact as we can. I want to speak to that point, moving up to the next generation. With everything that's going on, again, you know, the last 4 months specifically, we put power in, you know, on pause. Like, listen, we need a seat at the table. We need, you know, an opportunity to move up. What do you think that the next generation of executives, when I say the next generation, let's say anybody that's a regional or somebody that's trying to get into this business, or a junior A&R person or an assistant at a company, a junior publisher, someone who hasn't gotten their VP stripes, so to speak, or their national title, what can they expect in this, say, next 3 to 5 years in terms of their advancement? Well,
I mean, honestly, the most consistent thing that I've learned over my time is that the one thing you can expect is change. This thing is ever changing. You know, like Amir said, when I came in, we were taking vinyl to clubs to give it to DJs or record pools or whatever. And then next thing you know, you're CDs, and then it's MP3s, and then, you know, it's always changing. So I think the one thing that is constant is change, and that you have to be willing to adapt. You can't get stuck in a box, and like, you can't just read it out of a book. And I think that's what's so dope about us in the promotion world is experience is life's best teacher. And we're out there in the field, we're on the front lines, we're boots on the ground, we're the Marines, you know, we report back to base and let them know what's going on. And I, like, when I was in college, I met with an executive from Burger King, and he was like, before you could become a CEO, you had to go work in a store locally. So you learn how they did the fries, you learn how they did the burgers, you learn how to, you know what I'm saying? So if I was talking to somebody,
operation.
yeah, so if I was talking to somebody that's coming up and what to expect, I would say, you know, just invest in all the areas of learning what everybody does, you know, and get out there. Don't worry just about the building or aligning with this person or that person, but actually make sure you learn the whole landscape and be open to the change that is coming, because we don't know what's next. You know, it's TikTok today, but, you know, they were saying the Chinese government and their involvement, if that, so if TikTok goes away, what's next? You know what I'm saying? And it's always going to be something. So you just have to be ready for that.
right. There was MySpace before Facebook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Exactly.
Hey, Phil, you've been doing independent, you've owned your own company, you have employees, and you have, again, you have roots in both the urban and the pop space. Looking back on your journey now, are you people should still look for opportunities within a structured corporate organization? Which would you promote more, independence or working inside the system? Can't hear you, Phil.
Sorry.
There you go.
I don't know how that muted. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just repeat that one more time? Because you said a lot there, and I want to make sure
I was saying that you've been on both sides of the fence as an independent operator for the last, 20 years, but you also worked, within the system, and you worked in the urban space, you worked in the pop space. So you have you cover a lot of territory. If you had to recommend to someone today, would you recommend the independent journey, or would you recommend them coming inside of a building?
Well, I mean, the reason a lot of guys said I was able to make it in this area, and I mean, when I say area, I mean, to run a business on your own, is because when you work at an independent label, you're doing everything. You don't have the luxury of, no disrespect at all to the majors. I mean, in some aspects, majors have a heck of a bigger schedule, a release schedule, right? And they always have, the talk always was, they always have that one big monster that's going as they're trying to build their baby bands and everything. But specifically to your question, 100% independent label. Because if you want to know to run to the art department, or run to the lawyer area, or run to publicity, or run to the urban area, mix show, in many aspects, you got your fingers in all of that when you're running an independent label, or you're a promotion person at an independent label. And I would absolutely advise that. And then you look, if you has aspirations of going into different levels, and you want to be in that structure in the corporate, yeah, I mean, when the business gets back on its feet again, and you're there with your laminates, and you're running around at concerts or album release parties, or you're dealing with superstar artists, that's a wonderful thing. That's a great thing. But if you really want to get that foundation, well, I'd say, independent 100%, at the labels. I mean, you're really going to get your fingers in so many things. Whoever's listening or paying attention right now, that would be my advice.
I like that. I was Zine, let me just add to that real quick, because I've been on the independent side too, and I I totally agree with what Phil just said. Like, when you independent, you you have to do everything on your own. So it requires you to put more feathers in your hat. And, so however, there's nothing like that access that a major has. So it's twofold, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you out here struggling to do it all by yourself, but when you at a major, the art department is right next door or down the hall. But if you independent, like, you literally trying to vet out artists to make whatever stuff that you need to get done. So, but it also requires you to learn how to do other things. Like, I never thought that I knew how to put a band together for a Stephen Colbert show. I would have never gotten that at Interscope. You know what I'm saying? However, being independent, now I know how to put a whole band together for a TV show. So that's something else that, that's just another feather that you get to put in your hat. And those kind of things you don't get to put on nobody's resume, but the people that know you know how to do it. And if you're telling them you know how to do it, then that kind of stuff can take you, to other departments or whatever it is you want to do in this music business.
And
Let me
what's
just
interesting is, real quick, what's interesting is when you work at an independent, right, and you learn all these things. I mean, then they took me back in the early 90s, because we had signed Ruthless Records, and said, go hang out with Eazy-E. He wants you to be, he wants to be with you. He wants to know all these things you're doing. How come I'm not on the charts? How come I'm not this? Instead of 2 million, I want stuff 4 million. Show me all these things that you guys are doing in there. And even that is a big thing to take what within the independent label and help other little subsidiary labels that come into you. So much you can learn, like you just said to me. I mean, it's spot on.
Go ahead, Maurice.
I just wanted to quickly comment. You guys just took me back. When I started, you didn't just go to a marketplace to promote a record and see the radio station and leave. You went to retail, which unfortunately isn't there anymore. You had to go take inventory in these stores and find out how many records you had that you had. You wore a lot of different hats. And I think you have to become a sponge in this business and want to absorb anything and everything that comes in front of you. And that's in life, good or bad. You take what you need and leave the rest of it. And you want to figure out and talk to as many people as you can and find out how they do this and how they do that. We have a saying that we've never seen any work that we were scared of. And I find new people in the business are afraid to pull their sleeves up and get dirty. You got to want to do this, man. And if you do, you'll shine ahead. That's why Keenan is where he is. That's why Wilt is where he is. Amir, these guys were willing to pull their sleeves up and do whatever it took to get there. That's something real special. And that actually comes from your home training. That you don't get that recently. That's something that you were taught when you were a kid, and you got to incorporate it into your life. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I
appreciate that.
Go ahead, Lester. Lester, go ahead.
I look at it on both sides, somewhat like Amir said, but it's like being a baseball player. You start off in the minors to get to the majors. Nobody want to stay in the minors all day and never make it to the majors. Because you make it to the majors, it seems like you didn't get the success that you was trying to achieve. You know what I'm saying? I played in the minors, I believe. So knowing that point to where to me is, I always say I want to be independent but major. So no matter where I'm an independent label, independent, I still want to project and make sure my music, the quality of my music, my quality of my presentation is the same as that person putting out a project on a major label. And that's, to me, how you get from that one stepping stone to that next level by doing that.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Those are great answers. And I think that it's funny. I went to a workshop a couple of days ago. Shout out to Sony Music Entertainment, because we have some incredible HR programs. But it talked about the fact that we're currently living where we have 5 generations of people at work. We have the traditionalists, which are people who were born right after World War, right around World War II. We have the baby boomers, which are a lot of our parents. We have the Generation X's, which are those of us who, graduated high school in the 80s and early 90s. You have the millennials, and then you have the Gen Zers, which are people who are just going into the workplace. So the differences and what a lot of what you're talking about, everybody to answer that question, the differences lie in the psychology of when these people were born, what they were taught about work specifically. Even now in COVID, like there are people who get their first job in COVID. And I want to speak to that because Keenan, I heard you got a job open in Kentucky. And I want you to tell me specifically so that I can skip no steps. How do I get on your radar to get that job in Kentucky?
Somebody in Kentucky needs to co-sign you off the rip. That's first. Whoever's on the ground out there that really knows what's going on in them streets, I'm gonna check. If you really popping, I'm gonna check before you hit me. I'm gonna do my homework before you call me. Like I'm pretty good at knowing who's who in markets, even as an SVP. I think that's my secret strength. That's like my superpower. I still stay low enough to the ground to where I know what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna know if it's real. I'm gonna know it's real. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but I want in this, and I'll toss this over to Lester as well. I want to know the pathway because we talk about, you know, like what you're talking about is not necessarily nepotism, but it's about recognizing a hustler, recognizing someone who has that. And I think our business gets kind of a bad rap that you can just be anybody walking off the street and do any of these jobs, A&R, promotion, marketing, publicity. But we all know that it's real work. You know, you got to fill out a W-2. You get taxed at the end of the year. You got to do reports. Like, what are some steps or what are some advice you give to aspirants who want to be in this business to get their first opportunity?
First, you got to. Oh, okay.
Go on.
I would say first off, like you said, it's the hustle mentality. You know what I'm saying? You got to be hustler. It's a lot of cats that came up through me from where I found those guys because of what we do. They were on the streets working, and I saw their work ethic that made me want to bring those guys. I mean, you look at the Antonios, the Ricardos, the Corey Sparks, and those guys that came up through my side and where they are and went to in the music industry. I saw these guys on the streets doing things that most people wouldn't do. These guys would come work for me for free. How many people gonna come and stand around and be at your house at 8 o'clock in the morning and do things for free? So that showed me then that they had the passion to be in this business. Right. And then I had people come around, they'll be there for a week, wondering about when do they get paid, and they haven't did anything. So to me, it shows the hustle and the passion, and do you really love what you do? Some people like what they do, but it's very few people who love what they do.
And that passion, that word passion, yo, like we could feel passion. Like we could feel passion. We don't even got to be in the same city with you. Like we literally can say, okay, yeah, we can feel that. We know what's going on. Like Keenan said, like, you know, one of the benefits of being on this side is being able to see things before they about to happen. And that means even with the talent. So LP saw Antonio, he saw, you know, Corey, he saw something in them because they, like he said, they was willing to put this work in for free. And most of us have done so much stuff for free. Like, you know, it's like, okay, somebody else is watching, and Azim, you can attest this for me. Like, you know, you can probably answer this question yourself. What was it that made you say, okay, I want Amir a part of my team, I want Keenan a part of my team? You know what I'm saying? Like, you saw something in us that had, you know, that made us, you know, stick out. And, you know, that kind of goes back to Lester's original conversation about, you know, the door knockers that I was on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't get these programmers on the phone. I had to figure out a way to get them on the phone. And you know, too, like, I followed promotion trucks before to track down the program director if need be. So it's just that kind of passion that you want to see, and still understanding that everybody ain't going to have the same walk. So, you know, it's a thin line, but you still want to see passion. I think that's the word of the day.
Passion and work ethic, like just people, you know, to everyone's point, people that are not looking for the shine, they're really looking, they're passionate about the music, they're passionate about making a difference in the market. And like, for instance, Will about a year ago, he hired a young man named Malcolm who was in the streets out here in Atlanta for probably 10 plus years. And Malcolm, all he needed was a shot. But the thing about Malcolm was, I don't even think he knew what he wanted. He needed somebody to give him a shot because he was doing all the right things. He just didn't know how much better it could be being a part of a system. You understand? Because he and I talk often about those things. So just identifying those people who actually have the real, like, willing to work. I'm gonna be out to 4 a.m. if I gotta be hustling these DJs in these strip clubs trying to get these records played. Like, that's what you look for. You look for the passion. You look for the, I'm making no money, but I'm out here getting it. Like, that's everything. Because if you could do that, you could come over here and, come on, man. You come over here and kill it.
I think that in general, and what I would say, because everybody here, you know, we're all promotion people and we all have done other things as well. But I think a lot of people who are on here, especially people want to be artists or A&Rs, I think that the conversation about education has to come into effect as well. And I'm not necessarily speaking about a college education, but educating yourself to the business. I mean, the beauty of the millennials and the Gen Z is you are the internet generation. Everything you want to know about anything in life is at the tip of your fingers. And I find it to be somewhat discouraging, especially because those of us, you know, who hire people, that we still have people who are out here walking around ignorant, so to speak, when all they have to do is the same way they're scrolling on Instagram, or the same way they're tweeting, or the same way they're posting on SoundCloud. They can Google pretty much any information they want. And that's really one of my pet peeves. And, you know, I try to tell people all the time, listen, man, you got to be educated. And I think in all the holy books it says, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. So we have to take that wholeheartedly, because you always learn in this business. So I want to open up to some of the questions in the Q&A here.
And Azim, you know, if I could just ask that
from JJ. Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to add to that. I just wanted to add to that though, because I think you hit something that hit on a point that a lot of people kind of forget about, and that this is a business. So, you know, from the educational part of it, you have to look at this as a business as well, as opposed to just the glitz and glamour part that you may see as the end result.
Got that right.
Absolutely. Now listen, you know, work, it's all about work. So I see a question here from, I think, Javon Jordan. JJ, if you're there. It says, when you say we have to have something, does that mean something to contribute to their pockets? Immediately, does my content and my sound suffice? I think he's speaking about as an aspiring artist, about a little bit about the pathway of going from the record deal, or you wind up with a hit record at a distribution company. Amir, why don't you take that one?
I mean, Deb just said it. This is the music business, and scared money don't make none. So, you know, this is the music business, and business means exchange of, you know, money and all of that kind of stuff. You definitely need to have some money in this music business, period. It's not so you can get to me, but so you can make your music sound the way it's supposed to sound. So you can make your content match up with your music. So you can hire yourself somebody to do digital marketing for you. So you can pay your engineer. So you can pay your, you know, your producer. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the homeboy business. It's not the music homeboys. It's not the music friends. It's not the music I got you. It's the music business. And that needs to be understood. You know what I'm saying? So if you, and I, you know, and I try to tell people, especially independent artists, all the time when they asking this and that and the third, and I'm like, yo, like, for real, I hear people saying this, like, you know, you need to have some money somewhere that you can blow and it won't disturb you to be in this successfully, I believe. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if you got some money somewhere, you need somebody to invest in you, or you got, you know, saved up your money, because, yo, you can't even go in nobody's studio for free. Not unless you're doing your own thing, but then you're going to need that master and mix down. So you're going to be paying somebody somewhere for something. And I think that needs to be understood. Everybody think, yeah, I just got a hit record. But again, like I said, is that the tree falling down in the woods? Always think about that. Like, who else is going to hear my record if I don't put and people only respect what they pay for. Straight up. People
Right.
only
That's
respect
right.
what they pay for.
But look, Amir, like to your point, I agree with you 100%. Like as an independent artist that is trying to sell your music or get people to consume it, you're an entrepreneur. And so if you're starting a business as an entrepreneur, if you made the 5 hot dogs or cheeseburgers or T-shirts or watches, you're not going to invest in yourself. You're not going to put down some type of financial investment to build your business. Like you can't just think just because it's music that you don't have to put the business acumen behind that. You know what I'm saying? It takes all of the things. It takes the work ethic. It takes the team. It takes the follow through. And obviously it's going to take the financial investment.
Did we lose Azim?
I think Azim is frozen.
I thought that was for me. I was like, damn, I froze in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think you're frozen again, Azim.
You know what? I want to make a quick comment, going back to when you were talking about passion. Everybody on this call has passion. That's why we do this, because there's some days you look up and you're inundated with so much stuff. If you didn't have the passion, you would not be able to handle what was thrown in front of you. Michael Jordan would have played basketball for free, but he was so good at it, people were willing to pay to watch him. And you got to have that same feeling. You got to act as if there's one person in a room, pretend it's 1,000, and you're trying to get all their attention. And that goes back to the passion of the game. That if you really want to do this, then you'll shine through. Keenan, you hit upon it. You see stuff before they even know it. Your ears are to the ground, but all of us are. We know, we can tell when we walk in a room, we can see who that person who's that got that it versus the one who's just over there running off at the mouth, you know?
Yes, sir.
Passion is a very important statement there. And as I said, I just want to touch back on that again. And also too, what you thought you might want to do, God has a sense of humor, and he'll tell you, that ain't what you're going to be doing. I got something else, you know.
Oh boy, this ain't for you,
I can
baby.
Speak to that.
This ain't for you.
I can
baby.
speak to that. Hey, I'm
And
sorry.
what-
Listen, man, I'm really apologize. So I wanted to continue with a couple questions because I know we're short on time, about 5 or 10 minutes left. Anybody can take this question. I'll throw it over to Lester. What do you think are specific traits of an A&R?
I'm sorry, you kind of fizzled out. What did you say? Run that question again. Hello? Is it me or is it Azim?
Specific trait. Pace?
Hello?
Yeah, Pace.
Can you hear me?
He said what are the specific traits of an A&R?
I'm not the person
know,
to ask
right?
that question.
That's I think today's A&Rs, a lot of them, I think it's I mean, unfortunately, I feel like not all of them, but some of them is more social media driven. Like they looking for artists on social media. They looking for that. They looking for that next big thing, whether it be YouTube plays or streams or whatever. I don't think there's a whole bunch of A&Rs, and I could be wrong, that are going in studios and sitting with writers and picking out beats and doing all that. Yeah, I don't think it's a whole lot of that going on. I think there are some. Don't get me wrong. I think there are some that still do that. But I feel like there's a glitch in the matrix where everybody think that I could find the next star on YouTube or look at the Spotify streams and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? But I know, there are some A&Rs that are literally picking out beats and submitting them to artists and things of that nature. So, the role has
Amir,
somewhat changed.
Well, as my
Amir,
man, I think it's Craig Kalman from Atlantic Records said to me years ago, they're record makers and they're record finders. And the record makers are the guys that we know, the Zaytobens, the Brian Michael Coxes, the Jermaine Duprees, the Campers, like those guys who actually, whether they're classically trained or not, understand musicality. I read an article from Quincy Jones a few years ago when he talked about the rudimentary elements of music never change. You know, there's only, 7 notes, 8 chords. I'm not a musician, so I don't know. But those things are never going to change. And if you can't understand music and how to make it, you know, that's going to differ. But also, too, there are people who, you know, Sean Combs, Puffy said it best, too. Listen, I didn't play one note on any of them records, but I was there because he has taste and he has tone and he understands how it should work. So I think that there's room for all of those people. But I would err on the side of having some musical background education just so you can at least speak intelligently in the room when you're trying to get something done. Big Mo, he's on the call. Going back to you, Deb. Talk to me about what you see for the future of women in our business. Is it going to be brighter than it's been? Do you think that there's going to be the same baseline level of opportunity there has been? Or do you think women are going to take off on their own track? The reason I ask is because what I see a lot, and we all have a lot of strong females in our circle, it seems like you guys band together a whole lot tougher than men do. Men seem to come together when it's time to fight, but you of building each other up and socially and just hanging out together. Do you think that's going to help you guys, or do you think it's going to just make a status quo?
No, actually, I think with us banding together, that definitely will help us. Because unfortunately, though, historically, as women, we can tend to be a little catty at times, and there have been a lot of instances where we did not band together, you know, to try to pull each other up and support each other. So, but as things are changing, though, I really feel like, you know, and as we are all growing and maturing, and seeing, you know, how we are elevating and how we can help each other, I think we're going to be okay.
Hey, Deb, you just hit a valuable point, but don't limit that to just women, because these guys can be catty too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some of you.
Absolutely. Unfortunately,
okay.
You know, when I talk to, you know, a lot of my friends, especially with all the climate that we're in and the politics and stuff, you know, I'm sure we can all kind of agree to some degree that even as a Black race, you know, we kind of tend to be a lot catty. We don't pull together and pull our resources together like you would think we would, because, you know, we could be a lot further along in a lot of other areas. So
absolutely. All right, listen, guys, we're about to be out of time. I want to wrap this up. 30 seconds or less. Parting words. PM, Phil Materagis, talk to us.
Oh man, 30 seconds or less. That's tough. That's tough for someone who likes to chat like me. But I'll never forget.
And you're on the clock.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna finish it up right here. But I remember what an executive taught me one time and said to me. So I'll leave whoever picks this one up. He says, Phil, don't be the guy that, you know, or rather, you know, there was a saying. There's 3 kinds of people in this business, and I guess you could apply it to many businesses, but especially the music business. The people that make it happen, the people that watch it happen, and the people that say, what happened? Don't be the what happened guy.
I love it. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
I'll throw it over to you. Keenan.
I got you.
30 seconds.
I'll make it easy too. Don't run from the work. The work should exceed the perception. Work beats everything. Trust me. You may get on the radar by something flashy, but the work, and it may actually get you in the door, but the work keeps you in the actual building or in your own building that you created. Don't run from the work.
I like that. Amir?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what Keenan said, because I was told when I first got in radio that don't ever let anybody question your work ethic. So and don't just work because there's an opportunity. Work because there's always somebody watching.
I like that. Thank you. Lester.
I'm speak on a post I put up a couple of weeks ago. So those of you people on social media, Think about this. Likes plus many comments equals engagement, okay? Likes plus little comments is an entanglement, all right? So think about that, okay?
like
So
that.
if you got a lot of likes and many comments, it's engaging. If it's likes and little comment, a lot of likes and little comments, it's an entanglement. So take that with you.
That's good, Lester. That's nice.
Like that. That's good, Lester. That's really good.
Who's next, Zane?
Deb, go.
Okay. Let's see. Know how to adjust, but never let that adjustment change who you are to the core.
Like
Powerful.
that.
Especially in
I like
today's
that.
world.
Yes.
Brother White, we'll let you close out before I say goodbye.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
I'm sorry,
Don't forget
Will. I'm sorry.
Will.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Will.
Will, you got Will.
Let's get Will first.
Yeah, nah, I'll jump in. I just say, look, do good business, you know, be a person of integrity, you know, under promise, over deliver. And, you know, if you're trying to get on and you're hungry, you know, identify a need, you know, find out what I need that I don't know I need and fulfill it. You know what I mean? And that's how you're going to make yourself indispensable.
Love that. That's amazing. Well, great. Go
I
ahead, Mo.
can't take credit for this, but I once read this, and it said, perfection is not attainable, but if you chase it, you'll at least come up with excellence. So do your best. Do your best. All the time, do your best, no matter what that is. Just do your best.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
that
And
too.
I'll leave you with one of my favorites, which is hard work beats talent every day. You know, you may be bigger, smarter, brighter, got more money, look better, all that, but I clock in at 6 and I leave at midnight. So
Yeah,
you know,
man.
you can't beat that. I want to thank Arlinda Garrett. I want to thank all of you for today. I want to apologize to everyone watching. Again, this is a crazy day on my internet, but I hope you got something out of it. Once again, shout out to our amazing founder and our host, Ms. Arlinda Garrett, and all the people working behind the scenes.
Thank you, Arlinda.
For,
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you, AG.
Shout out to Wendy Washington and my frat brother Jason Wiley from TID. This is dope for making it happen. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. And to my compatriots here on the call, I love you all. Please stay safe, be good, and God bless.
Thank you, everybody. It was a